is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
Anyway, this is a Donna Adelson case in which we're diving back into this evening. As well, it turns out we have a verdict that has come in the same day. Closing arguments have wrapped up. And do we know what are we on? We're in 3. I think I won the bet, Todd. Did I not?
You
did. I win this?
You actually did win the bet. So yes.
Between 3 to 5 hours. Called that one. I've not been good on this at all year. I've been calling it wrong left and right. I think this is the only one I've been accurate on. But there we go. I won the free 2-leg and thigh chicken dinner from Mon Pa's Grocery Express.
Enjoy that with some tater tot casserole.
Excited about that. Let's go to the courtroom and watch it as it happens. As Donna Adelson, the verdict is read.
If the jury foreperson could please rise. Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict? Yeah. If you please can hand the verdict form to the bailiff.
Donna looking very tense.
Yeah, I think she knows what might be in store for her here.
Yeah.
Having reviewed the verdict form, it is in its proper order. At this time, I will publish the verdict.
We're about to see.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the indictment. Conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
Guilty.
The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count
Narcissistic
3.
collapse, kids.
Yep.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count 3 of the indictment. Solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder. And it is signed and dated by the foreperson. One moment. Members of the jury, the bailiff will escort you to the jury room.
Donna weeping uncontrollably in court right now, if you're listening to this.
I mean, I don't blame her.
Mrs. Adelson, while this was not the outcome I'm sure that you desired, there will not be any further outbursts in front of the jury. If you cannot control yourself, I am going to have to determine if you'll be removed from the remainder of this process. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you need a moment to collect yourself? Before the jurors are brought back in, we will take a brief 2-minute break. Please give her tissues if she needs them.
To the defense and to your honor.
When the jurors are brought back into the room, does the defense wish to have the jurors polled before they are discharged?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well.
She clearly did not see this coming, as
How
no
is that
narcissist
possible?
would.
Yeah.
He's a narcissist.
Thank you, Todd. I mean, how did she not see this racking up against her? But
Because
I know.
this is how she works. This is how they all work. They think it's impossible. They do not see reality on reality's terms.
But she also doesn't have real tears streaming down her face. And I'm not trying to judge her, but I'm just wondering how much of this is an act.
Please
A
bring back
lot.
in the jurors so we can conclude with their portion of the trial.
I mean, somebody said something really nice to me today and I teared up. I had an actual tear like run down my face. She's going to jail for the rest of her life and she can't conjure up one tear. I mean, okay.
She's mad she got caught. She's mad that she was called out. She's mad that everybody knows who she is. The mask is off and the world sees Donna Adelson for who Donna Adelson actually is. All the years of her torturing people through her manipulation and narcissistic ways have finally come to a head. And she's going to be locked up for the rest of her life. There's a lot of people right now, I'm sure, have had interactions with this bitch throughout life who are going, fuck yeah. She had it coming. She had nothing to do with the murder.
I discharge you for this evening.
Harvey looks the same.
I'm briefly going to poll you to concerning whether your verdict is unanimous at the request of one of the parties.
They're coming,
When you
Harvey.
give your last name, please appropriately respond.
I feel a little anxious myself. Jeez.
We just had a message come through. Harvey will be married by next year.
Probably to the woman in the Snuggie.
I was just going to say maybe to a guy named Bubba, because I don't know if he's going to be completely out of the woods.
We have the best viewers and listeners. I'm just going to say that. Some of the humor I've seen come through, and I realize this is, somebody lost their life, and I it's serious, but these are some really smart people in our chat room.
This is karma.
And that's why people are making jokes, because we all know people like this.
Yeah.
And we want to see karma come and swing its freaking bat.
Oh, I don't think it's a bat.
I always say that, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Tony, you and I have watched karma swing its bat. So
Do we have audio here? Is it silent?
I believe because they're talking to the jurors individually.
Okay.
Before you're discharged, please listen carefully. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges that are enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. With that being said, I want to extend my thanks on behalf of the entire Second Circuit for your service in this matter. You are discharged. Have a good evening.
bye-bye.
Bye, Donna. I'm hoping they keep the camera shot there long enough to see her cuffed and taken out.
Oh, they're gonna.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I don't know.
Orange is the new Adelson.
As to the jury's verdict, with the jury having found the defendant guilty of the 3 charges of the indictment, is the defense asking for a pre-sentence report on counts 2 and 3. As to count 1, the penalty is statutory, and essentially there is no modification for it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, pre-sentence investigation and report is ordered by the court as to counts 2 and 3. As to count 1, is there any reason why we cannot proceed to sentencing on this matter?
Your Honor, we would request an opportunity to ensure that our client is okay before we proceed to sentencing. It's my understanding that Charlie Adelson wasn't sentenced right away. We're asking for the same courtesy.
Very well. The court then will set a separate sentencing date.
However, the family members that are present would like to give victim impact now or at the future date.
Go ahead.
It means death, Donna. It means you're never getting out. It doesn't matter what they say, what number they give you, you will die in prison.
What does it mean that I sit here looking at her and I'm actually feeling bad for the woman just because I have so much empathy, but I know she's nasty?
Yeah, I have none.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I get that. I feel bad for her too. To a point.
I don't.
I know you don't.
I don't at all.
We're going to find out who this woman is finally. I've been wondering.
Oh, that's Dan Markel's mother. I found it out earlier.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
What is it with the moms and the glasses in the courtroom?
I think we're about to get a victim
Right there in
impact
front of the
statement.
lectern.
Oh, ooh.
Oh, this is big. Well, she might be hiding her eyes because she's just been crying.
Oh yeah, she's going to address Donna head on now.
Oh,
If you
they're like.
please can identify yourself for the record.
Yes, my name is Ruth Mark. Sorry?
I'm worried you're gonna trip.
Okay, I already did. My name is Ruth Markel.
You may give your impact statement, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge Everett. To the Honorable Judge Everett, my name is Ruth Markel. I am the mother of the late Dan Markel. I stand before you today to express the profound sadness and grief that Dan's family and I have endured since his tragic murder. We have lost a treasure. My son Dan's life was cut tragically short at 41 years old. For 11 years, we have been forced to a life filled with unimaginable pain and heartbreak. Dan's father, Phil, and his sister, Shelley, share in this unending sorrow. Dan was a devoted father, brother, and son. Dan's life was marked by his devotion to family, education, and community. He was a loving, caring, and inspiring person. His academic journey included studying politics and philosophy at Harvard University, earning a master's degree later in political theory from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and Emmanuel College in Cambridge, and later going back to Harvard to get a law degree. Dan was a prolific scholar and did start, co-founded the influential Prof's blog. His energy, drive, and sociability greatly enriched the FSU College of Law. Dan's life was filled with passion, music, dance, sports, travel, and people. But of all my son's accomplishments, however, I am most proud of the devoted father Danny was to his two sons, Benjamin and Lincoln. Dan was present, loving, and supportive, always putting his children's well-being first. He regularly attended the boys' daycares, reading with them. His office was filled with their drawings, and his home, his living room, filled with their toys. Dan was the boys' hero, and they have been forced to grow up without a father. Dan's murder has shattered our family and caused deep, permanent pain. This was a particularly senseless crime, and the murder was particularly insensible. It was not revenge. Dan was a law-abiding and respectful citizen, an active father, and a living son. His life was devoted to teaching and helping others. The pain and suffering of Dan's murder goes well beyond other families too. That is why I wrote the book, The Unveiling, a mother's reflection on murder, grief, and trial life. In my unrelenting grief, I turned to advocacy to feel purpose and to help others with these tragic losses. I have found meaning and comfort to connect with others who want to serve justice. To all the community of journalists, TV programs, podcasters, Tallahassee communities, and the allies who have put their hearts in keeping Danny's story alive, we are full of thanks. To law enforcement and prosecutors, our gratitude is beyond for their dedicated, careful perseverance in seeking justice for Danny and our family. If Tallahassee is known for football, Tallahassee should be known for the prosecution and for law enforcement. They have done an outstanding job. These extraordinary efforts underscore the brutal truth of our family story. Danny's murder was orchestrated by his former mother-in-law, Donna Adelson, and other co-conspirators, and is a crime of cruelty. It is a murder of grief, a murder of selfishly prioritizing one's own desires over what is just or right. And at its core, this was a murder of convenience, so that one grandmother could live closer to her grandchildren. She killed their father and ripped the children from the other grandparents' lives. Donna Adelson's crimes against Dan began long before his murder. She belittled Dan in front of his children. She spread lies about him and contributed to a brutal separation between Dan and Wendi. She rented the house, and Dan came home and he found that Wendi and the boys were gone with most of their belongings. He called this devastation Pearl Harbor. Donna's eagerness for Wendi to divorce Dan and to relocate to South Florida led her to increasingly devise desperate schemes. Despite these efforts, the court ruled that Wendi could not move the boys away from their loving father. Failing to achieve her goal through legal means, Donna finally resorted to orchestrating Dan's murder. She plotted, planned, and paid for his murder. Donna's crimes led to further devastation. Her middle son, Charlie, was convicted and sentenced to a life in prison for his role in facilitating Danny's murder for hire. Can you imagine a mother involving a son to complete a murder? Donna's eldest son, Rob, an honest and decent man, is estranged from the family, and her younger child, Wendi, has decided once again to relocate to another state. Her actions and those of her co-conspirators have caused children to lose their parents. Catherine McManus, Freda Garcia, and Charlie Adelson, also convicted, are all convicted for life and have lost access to their children. Prior to her arrest, Donna's recorded phone calls with Charlie reveal their lack of a moral compass or capacity for self-reflection. She blames external forces for her family's curse. They're outside of her, but she is the curse, and lashes out angrily at witnesses who looked and took the brave step to testify. Her modus operandi has always been to run from Tallahassee and then to try to flee to Vietnam. For our family, there is no such prospect for escape. Danny's absence, and that leaves a hole at the center of our lives, no matter where we go. Yet Dan's murder was not enough for Donna. His death was not enough. Danny had to be fully erased from his beloved sons. The boy's last name was ever changed, an extraordinary decision to excise the Markell name from Phil's only grandsons who shared his name, his last name. And after the first arrests were made, Donna didn't allow the Markell family to have access for over 6 years. It was only when there was a phenomenal Tallahassee advocacy group that passed the Markell Act. The passage of this bill was immediately followed by our first invitation to have the boys, to see the boys after the arrest. The door only cracked open. Despite these efforts, we remain excluded from the boys' lives. We were not at their bar mitzvahs or graduations. We have extremely highly choreographed visits and communications. We only wait for the day that Benjamin and Lincoln will visit their father and his grave, in his father's history, and his grave in Toronto. We want nothing more. The facts of Danny's murder, are difficult to swallow. The experiences Phil, Shelley, and I have been forced to suffer are profound as homicide survivors and victims of the criminal system. The lives of Danny's two sons, our grandchildren, were forever turned upside down by this crime. Benjamin and Lincoln were only preschoolers when their father was murdered, and now they are forced to confront and try to understand the unthinkable crimes of murder and the Adelsons' involvement. Our lives will never return to normal. For those who love Danny and for those who Danny loved, there is no escape from the wicked effects of what Donna Adelson set in motion, carried out, and paid for, and for many years enjoyed the aftermath of. Donna Adelson has caused immense devastation and an untimely, undeserved murder through her actions. While no trial or verdict can ever heal the profound wounds caused by Dan's murder, justice must be served. I respectfully ask the court to impose the maximum sentence on Donna Adelson. Her lack of cooperation and remorse throughout the case demands justice, the justice that Dan's life and memory fully deserve. We are immensely grateful to the court for its careful and compassionate deliberation. Respectively, Ruth Markell.
Thank you, Ms. Markell. Are there any other victim impact statements this evening?
One more.
This is Dan's dad that's now.
Please tell us your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Phil Markell. I'm Danny's father. Judge Everett, I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the impact of Donna Adelson's actions on my families and the families of so many others. While this victim impact statement is addressed to you, Your Honor, it is also intended for the Adelson family, Harvey, Charlie, Wendi, and particularly Donna. I would like them to understand and reflect on the deep and irreparable damage they have caused. The pain that they have caused my family is obvious and permanent, but they have also caused lifelong harm to their own immediate family and so many other families and children around. Donna's selfishness, cruelty, and complete disrespect for human life, along with that of her co-conspirators, have left families forever broken. Louis Rivera, his children have no father. Catherine Magbanawa and Sigfredo Garcia, their children have no parents. Charlie Adelson, his son, Roman, has no father. Rob Adelson and his wife and their two children have lost their uncle and grandparents. Shelley and Ian, my daughter, their three children, my grandchildren, are left without an uncle and are separated from their cousins. Of course, their heinous and callous actions have left me, Ruth, and Shelley without our Danny, and Ben and Lincoln without their father. For anyone to commit such a cold-blooded, unprovoked act of murder is horrific. For Donna, someone who claims to care so much about Ben and Lincoln, her sun shines. Her actions are beyond comprehension. She has harmed forever the people she claims to have loved. In the Jewish custom, We have an expression to always wish others to live to 120 years of age. For Donna, I wish her to live to 120, alone in her jail cell. I wish that every day of her remaining days, she thinks about the harm she has caused to so many, especially those two boys she claims to have loved so much. For these reasons, Your Honor, I ask the court sentence Donna Adelson to the maximum possible sentence. And my only question to Donna, was it worth it? Respectfully, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Markell. Are there any other matters that the court needs to address this evening, Ms. Koppelman?
No, Your Honor.
With the PSI being ordered, the court will pronounce the sentence as to counts 2 and 3 after it's been completed. The parties have had an opportunity to review the pre-sentence investigation report and make any objections if they believe they need to. As to the 3 counts the jury has found the defendant guilty of, I will adjudicate her guilty at this time, but sentence will be pronounced as to the 3 counts at a later date. She is remanded for sentencing at this time. Lieutenant Henry, please notify the commander at the jail that the appropriate screening needs to take place to ensure that the defendant is in an area where she is not subject to any self-harm. For a case management date coming up, what would the parties request?
Ms. Dugan's October court date, Your Honor.
Leave that is 10/14. Is that correct, Ms. Dugan?
Yes, sir.
October 14th for case management at 2:30 p.m. That will be in the normal courtroom, 3B. Patricia, if you can make sure that the notice goes to DOC so they are aware that the PSI needs to be completed as soon as possible. Thank you. We are in recess at this time. We will reconvene on October 14th. Have a good evening, everyone.
Everyone except for Donna.
And Donna is being cuffed right now by 2 women, 2 sheriff's deputies. They are literally hauling her out of the room, arm in arm. It appears she is cuffed, and they are leading her out through the side door. Donna visibly shaken by all of this, literally physically shaking, as she is let out and the door is closed on Donna. And the chapter of her life prior to this comes to an end. Lots to discuss of what we just witnessed there. I want to start with the kids, and this is a big thing. And as we're witnessing more and more people leaving the courtroom, we're seeing Georgia Kappelman leave right now. We're seeing her assistant attorney leave. I've not seen Harvey, but he may have already gotten out. Looks like the Dayton's drama squad of 1987
They've left.
apparel has already, I think they already left. They went to go hit the early bird specials. I think they're probably kind of shocked that this is done at this point. Yeah, all tears for herself. I think that's accurate by some of the comments that we're seeing right here. But let's talk about the kids for a second, because this is another really shocking part. This is why I have zero pity for Donna Adelson. It's not because I don't have empathy. I have a lot of empathy. I have too much empathy for people sometimes. But when you're really shitty and you're evil, you're fucking evil. And
Yeah.
Donna Adelson checks all of those boxes. That family literally held those kids, Dan Markel's children, away from Dan Markel's parents for all of these years after the murder. It took literal legislative involvement for them to get the right to see their own grandchildren after their son was butchered by this family. This family, the Adelsons, held control of the Markel children after they changed their name for years. This happened 11 years ago. Those grandparents, you know how many times they've seen their grandkids in the last 11 years? 3.
It's insane.
So they kill their father, and then they still hold on to control of these kids. Now, you would think if the father is murdered and they have a good relationship with dad, dad's been there. Dad's not been some deadbeat, horrible dad where you're like, well, oh, well. This family, these grandparents, are all part of these kids' lives. But the Adelsons take it upon themselves as their enmeshed family from hell and decide, you know what? They don't have dad anymore. Shouldn't we let them see grandparents maybe a little bit more? Let them at least feel that side of their family? No. They don't at all. They hold them back from seeing the grandparents because they killed their father. This is insane. I mean, it literally is insane. The evil of the Adelsons, which was actually the original title of this podcast when we launched it a couple years ago. It was called The Evil of the Adelsons. And it truly has all come to fruition. Stacey, what's your thoughts?
I'm with Todd. I mean, watching her literally tremble. It was hard to watch. It was hard to stomach. But hearing the victim impact statements, evil walks amongst us.
Yeah.
And, you know, it can be disguised as a matronly woman, you know, in a sweater with her hair in a little bun. You know, she looks like someone who would do, you know, chocolate chip cookies with you on the weekend and cook you a nice borscht, you know, or whatever.
Borscht.
You know, yeah. You know, but in the background, she's plotting somebody's demise.
Yeah.
And it, again, every time we have one of these cases, I just sit here and go, you know, have I stood next to somebody at Quick Trip filling up with gas and they're plotting somebody's death while we're pumping gas, looking at each other going, oh yeah, that's a great song on the little whatever that is. I'm surprised that there's people out here like this because they're disguised in sheep's clothing. She looks like somebody that you talk to at the grocery store.
And she is. And here's the deal. Take death out of the equation. Do you talk with these people every single day? Yeah, you do. But they don't all go all the way to death, but they do all the other stuff. I mean, if you took death out of the equation and you took the control of taking the kids away from the family, when there was no reason to, these were not bad people. There's plenty of reasons to do that in certain situations. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah.
This is not one of them. And the way that they were held back, I mean, just all of these little evil controlling things. And like George has said, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
So what?
And Donna's Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, right. So what makes these people cross that line? That, you know, we know all kinds of shitty people out there that do things. That there's a line in the sand here. What makes them step over it? That, you know what, I'm going to fucking kill that guy.
I don't think anybody ever was able to or ever really even tried to stop Donna from being who she was. And so she just, you know, as time went on, she got stronger and more bold.
Yep.
And I want to clarify, like, watching her lose her shit in the courtroom, obviously she wasn't crying, but she was very distressed, right? I don't like to see people in distress.
Yeah, exactly.
But hearing Phil Markel, I thought his impact statement was incredible.
Yeah.
And the way he tied in how all these other family members, all the people involved with this murder, the children have no parents, have no father, have no uncle, you know? I mean, come on, Donna. Like,
and none of it's
time for the reckoning. You know, what are things going to be like on the 14th of October for her?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and that I thought was very powerful. Stacey, I'm going to say this. Check your mic input really quick to make sure you're on your main mic. I want to say this. I mean, about Dan, and she made a good point too. Both mom and dad of Dan did, mother and father, of look at the amount of lives that were destroyed because of Donna Adelson's narcissistic control. I mean, just look at it. All these people that got involved that unhealthily decided, I'm going to go along with this. I mean, it starts with Charlie. We'll see what happens with Wendi. Then you have Catherine McBonna getting involved. Then you have Sigfrida. And look, these people made a choice. I'm not saying they're saints by any means, but they made a choice to get involved because this woman put this request out there. Now, I don't have a ton of sympathy for Catherine McBonna or any of that. I do it for their children. The fact that these people were born into families of monsters like this. And quite honestly, when I hear that these people are going to be away for the rest of their lives, that's probably the best possible outcome for these kids.
Right.
Because they're never going to have to be brought up by monsters that are capable of going and killing people for hire or running money to your ex-boyfriend or your whatever to do a hit. I mean, that's great that these kids don't have to have you as parents. That's wonderful. Thank God there needs to be more of you put away and more of you need to off yourselves that are doing shit like this. But the other part, Danny, the kids, I mean, the confusion that is going to be there. Grandma's gone now. Wendy's still there. What's going to happen next? Because Wendi, she's on the chopping block.
Yeah.
These kids are teenagers. They're in high school right now. All that's left is the uncle in New York and Harvey.
Yep.
In terms of immediate family.
Yep.
These kids are screwed. I mean, I really, really hope that they can rise above this and get somewhere. But all of this goes back to Donna's selfishness. It goes back to her need for I want this and I want that, and I'm going to manipulate these people to do my bidding this way and that way. And it starts early and it starts small and it starts like, well, it's not a big deal. And it's just kind of manipulative. And to the point of this, exactly what you said, Todd, it starts small and they keep pushing. They add a little bit more to that. I can get this far. And eventually at 70 some years old, Donna Adelson has pushed the bar so far that she finds herself ending up in a murder conspiracy over the ex-husband of her daughter that she didn't like because he was a Jew.
Well, and to what Dan Markel's dad said, was it worth it?
Was it
worth it?
What do you make of Harvey's? Harvey didn't change. He didn't change expressions.
He did because he was looking down. Before he was looking up, kind of sitting up straight with the frown on his face.
Okay.
But when the verdict came down, he was looking down at the floor, and I got the feeling like maybe he's thinking, "Whoa, shit."
Yeah. Maybe I should have gotten that extradited flight. I never showed up to the shit show. I also noticed, excuse me, that the judge, and they don't always do this at a closing of a trial. He specifically basically said, without saying it directly, suicide watch.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So she doesn't that was I wrote it down before he even said it. I'm like, she's got to be on suicide watch right now because she's already said to Wendi in those text messages earlier of, you should bury me in this. Oh, poor me. Bury me in this. And let me ask you guys this question.
Okay.
We all have had narcissists in our lives to varying degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have one who talked about what they want to be buried in when they die?
Yes. Yes. My dad, my grandmother.
Yep. Me too.
On phone calls, like
regular basis of talking about what they want to be buried in.
Yep. And especially when you disappoint them.
Yep.
It comes up like, okay, Dad, I'm not going to come out for some of summer vacation because I have practice for this sport that I'm in. Well, you know what? The next time you see me, I'll probably be in a casket.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. What kind of flowers would you like? I finally got to that point where I was like, let me know what kind of a spray you want on top of your casket.
So you have to do, because
Yeah.
they're seeking that. Oh no, don't say that. Don't do that. That's
Right. And it's
insane. It's like, okay, cool. You know what? I saw Hobby Lobby has a great deal on funeral flowers this week, 40% off. So you better decide pretty quick, because that sale ends Saturday night at
Yeah, and I've got the coupon for it. So
Yeah.
let me
hurry
know.
up, or you ain't getting the flowers, or it's
You can
gonna have
probably
to
use
be like Joanne Fabric closeout shit.
On that coupon on the back, if you look, you can get Jackie to do your trial, because I'm sorry. And she was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
She
Oh
brought
my God.
nothing to the table. Her closing arguments today, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but it's not that she didn't have a few points, but it was nothing that was going to change the mind of all the other stuff that was put out there.
Mm-hmm. It is. There was nothing to. I mean, it was just, like I said earlier, I felt like it was just a reiteration. She took notes of Donna bitching.
Yep.
About all of her grievances, and literally was Donna's voice. It was like if it was you were a teenager and you're at Hardee's and one of the kid is picking on you on the other booth, and your best friend stands up and says, "Oh yeah? Well, you're this. And well, you can't do this or that." Like, you're 70 some years old here. You're not a 14-year-old getting a, chicken nugget meal. What the fuck are you doing here? And by the way, why did you go to Men's Warehouse to get your suit? What the fuck was that? I mean, it's not even, I don't think it was even a women's suit.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was so nuts. And Suicide Watch, the amount of people who have been so damningly affected by Donna Adelson is staggering.
Here's a thought. These narcissists, and again, we're using that term, and a lot of people use that term,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you're right, it applies in this case.
Without a doubt.
These narcissists, they threaten to off themselves, unalive themselves, whatever you'd like to say. But they never do, because they're cowards. They're never going to do it. Now, they had to put her on, that kind of watch.
They do sometimes, but it's rare.
It's very rare, because most of them, this is just an idle threat. They're never going to go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, when my dad finally died and I got the call, I said, "Are you sure he's dead?" Because the son of a bitch had threatened to off himself so many times. It was like, sure, okay, yep, right, whatever.
It's become somebody crying wolf at some point. Yeah.
Chicken Little, the sky is falling every freaking day.
But here's the difference at this moment in time.
Okay.
It's not going to be this moment in time in a week. It wasn't this moment in time a week ago.
Right.
But what you just witnessed there is narcissistic collapse.
Yeah.
That was everything. Everything came to her the moment she, and I believe that, was there an act going on there? Somewhat, but it was authentic, but it was to her.
Right.
It was everything inside of her crumbling. All of those self-talking things that she said, all those affirmations of "you're in the right, you're doing this because of this, you're doing this because of that," and she believes it was all right. And then reality showed up and said, "Guess what, bitch? You're wrong. Look at what you've done."
Yeah.
You can't handle that. I mean, the brain as a human being cannot handle that kind of confrontation. And that's where it comes to collapse, because she's told herself this myth of herself for the last 70 years. Yeah. It's not going to change like that because of a couple days in the courtroom. So she is collapsing mentally, internally. There probably is just haywire going on right now in her mind. So she really does need to be on suicide watch. I mean, as much as I do agree with Dan's father saying, I hope you live to be 120 so you can rot in there and enjoy in every day of this. I don't know. At the same point, I just kind of feel like once you've determined someone is not a viable human being anymore, and they're not worth the air that they breathe because they've chosen to take it from others with absolutely no thought, I don't care. Give her a bed sheet. Give her a rope tonight and see what happens.
Tony.
Let me throw this out there and just get your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Let's say they actually put her on the stand.
If
Let's
they did,
say,
okay.
Yeah, let's say she testified. We don't know how that would go. We can imagine how that might go. Does that change this outcome? Did the fact that she didn't take the stand not give her a chance to get out of this one?
Would it have changed it? Are you asking?
Is there a possibility that it could have changed it? If she was able to act well enough in front of that jury to make it look like she was who she was trying to portray herself, maybe the outcome would have been a little different.
Do you think for a second she could have done that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so, but I've not seen her in action. I've seen all the stuff she's done in action, but I've never seen her personally in action.
I think this is kind of is it possible? Sure. Is it remotely probable? Probably not. I mean, in theory, could Donna have decided to take an acting class or just completely change her persona like that? Narcissists are capable of doing that sort of shit. Could she? I think she would have attempted to put on a show. I think it all would have crumbled under cross because Georgia would have ripped the shit out of her. Mm-hmm. And she wouldn't have known what to do. She would have gotten extremely defensive. She would have ended up burying her husband and Wendi simultaneously in whatever she was going to throw out there, and Charlie even more. And then all for the sake of trying to protect herself, but at the same time incriminating herself even deeper because she doesn't see it. And why is that? 2 words: cognitive distortion. And that's what she lives by. That's if you grasp that one, that's how you can understand how they're seeing everything. It's the broken prism. We all see things through our own prism. And look, all of our prisms are a little bit cracked from the life that we've all lived. There's something, we're seeing things a little bit different here and there, and you got to have grace with others and go, oh, okay, well, they're reacting this way, maybe differently from me because of this or that. And a lot of times you can go, oh, okay, it's not that much different, but I see it. But when you're so far gone, when you're literally brought up and your prism is crafted by someone who is distorting it, and I'm going to guess that's what happened with Donna, that the way she was crafted, the way she was raised was in such a way that we're going to see things this way. We're going to be okay with things that way. We can be heartless this way or that way, the same way that Wendi is, or she's allegedly been by her boyfriend, who said she has no empathy. She's heartless. She does this, she does that. And it's all about herself. She's a little clone of Donna is essentially what it sounds like. And given the rope to hang herself on, if she were to go out there in life, she could very easily reproduce the results of Donna Adelson. But I think she probably already did in her own way. And hopefully she'll be locked up for that at some point. But that's the thing. It's the distortions. And Wendi is an example of someone who was raised by that. Donna, I'm very curious of her background because I'm going to guess it probably started there too. And once your path is already set with this is hot and it's really cold and it's vice and all things are off, you're kind of fucked. Unless you finally get out there in life and go, wait a second, I think this compass I was given is off and I want to correct it. But if you're too comfortable with that compass and you don't want to do any sort of self-reflection, which is most human beings, you end up like Donna Adelson.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox.
It's a good one, though. I think it's pretty damn accurate.
Who knew you had it in you, Tony?
No, I did.
Fucking years of abuse with people that are narcissists and borderlines. You get good at it. You get good at identifying it. Yeah. I'm going to go do seminars on this shit someday.
Good. Yeah, Tony's on the road doing a TED Talk, so Todd, it'll just be me and you doing the show.
Yeah,
I've thought of it. I've even started. I have the Narcissistic Survivor Society podcast I've created. it's a lot of AI stuff I put in there initially. So I'm like, this would be kind of interesting to get thoughts out there and survivor stories and things like that. But I think I should actually put myself on the damn camera and talk about this more, because there's a lot of healing that it takes when you've been through this sort of shit. And it doesn't ever really end. It like once you're scarred by this, you're kind of scarred by it. And everyone who is touched by it negatively, you kind of need a reinforcement that you're not crazy. That's why it's called crazy making behavior. That's why this whole thing today seemed insane, the way Georgia had to lay it out this way and that way. And here's all the other caveats. And here's some more crazy shit, everybody, because it's so nuts. And when you're on the receiving end of it, it seems crazy. And you think you're crazy. Like, why am I thinking of things? Because they're constantly spitting shit out at you that doesn't make any sense, but it all makes sense to their means of having control over the situation.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
It's I mean, it's real life, you know. How many people in our chat room are going, There's
a lot of I saw over here, Kara had a good one earlier, I thought. I'm trying to find what I saw. There was some good ones. Carried away by ego. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, I can't find them all at this second, but you guys have had a lot of interesting insights that I've agreed with as I've seen them kind of come through the chat here tonight. But as you're watching this in a replay, give us your thoughts in the comment section. YouTube is typically one of the better places to do it. If you're not there and you're listening to us or wherever you're at, just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, or, it's on X, it's on Facebook. Give us your thoughts there too. But yeah, that's, I think Donna Adelson got what she deserved. And I have zero pity. I hope she enjoys life behind bars. I'm not going to be surprised if she doesn't make it very long. And not that she's going to get, shivved or something in prison, but I'd think more like, I don't know that she's going to keep herself. I think she may unalive herself at some point.
Yeah, I think that's a real possibility.
Or is she going to create a little narcissistic family behind bars?
I was going to say she might be up for that, and she might think she could pull it off.
She probably can.
You think so?
Look what she did with the one jailhouse snitch. I forgot her name. The one who was wearing purple the other day.
Is that the grand piano?
She got a grand piano, $10,000. I mean, and Donna did come through on some of the initial promises, and then it was like, well, I don't need you anymore, so I'm going to discard you, which is another whole part of the principle of narcissists, discarding. And don't need you, you're gone. Seriously. If anybody's listening to this and going, this really resonates with me, this really feels like I have people in my life who might be like this, I suspect it. It's hard. It's insanely hard to wrap your mind around it if you've never really done it before.
Yeah.
But once you do, and it takes some time, it makes life make a hell of a lot more sense. And then there's so many, again, I said it the other day, many books I recommend. I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. That's kind of the Bible to borderlines and narcissists. And Ramani, Dr. Ramani, you watch YouTube or anything, you've probably seen her. She's spoken on several of these cases. I think she was in the more recent Karen Reed documentaries, actually. She has one out called It's, you just got it, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. It's not
you.
Not you. Yeah.
It's not you. Very good.
I'm halfway through it. And anybody who has dealt with, especially like in a divorce situation, read the damn book.
Well, yes. And that's the thing, because so many times you do not realize you have been the victim of narcissistic abuse until you've already been the victim of narcissistic abuse. And I was shocked when I went down that road, not to keep going on here forever, but when I started going down that road myself, and I started hearing terms like you're a survivor and this or that. I'm like, what? Like, I'm a survivor. And then the more you understand it, the more you learn about this, and the more you see shit like this, the more you're like, oh, fuck, I really am. Because the evil doesn't know any end in some of these cases. And it's really, really spooky. And the sooner you can understand it and recognize it, the sooner you can protect yourself from ever having to endure it again. But also, importantly, if you have children, helping to protect them from falling into those same pitfalls. Because they're appealing people. They're people that are charismatic, that on the outside, everybody loves at the country club. Oh, they're nice. Or it's not even a country club, whatever, wherever you're at the Shoney's. They're the most charismatic person.
Your references are just.
You need to get Tony out more often, dude.
They got the bear, and they're suggesting the tuna salad at the buffet. But you start talking, you're like, oh, my kids don't talk to me anymore. Why is that?
We got somebody asking, are they going to go after Wendi next? I think we all feel like they're going to.
Yeah.
I put a poll out on YouTube. I'm going to jump over to that real quick.
Right.
I put it out earlier this evening on our YouTube channel. If you're not there, just search it, Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, and you can go to this. It's in our posts tab. The question. Oh, I'm sorry. I put this poll out on X. This was not on YouTube. Let me go over to the poll on X and see where we're at. And it's about Wendi specifically. It's right after my post that says "Burn, bitch, burn."
Tony doesn't hold back. Todd, you and I kind of
we got to level that out a little bit, Stacey. So what's the poll? What was the question?
You're never gonna level me out.
I know. Well, we've tried. I've tried for 20 years.
You've been trying to level me out for 20 some years. How's that worked out?
2 of us and 1 of him, and we still can't do it, Stacey.
I got nothing.
I'm gonna start doing cow moves up the intros to this shit. How long until Wendi Adelson is charged with conspiracy to murder Dan Markel? The options are within a month, before Halloween, before Thanksgiving, and before Christmas. I didn't even put an option in there for like it's not going to happen.
Or like tomorrow.
Yeah, within the month, 46.7% is where the poll is at. Before Halloween is sitting at 20, before Thanksgiving at 20. And before Christmas at 13.3% right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Wendi better be, I don't know, she better have some clothes ready to go next to the bed, because the FBI, when they raid and shit, they come calling pretty early. So if you don't want to be, walking out of your house in your nightgown, I'd have some sweats or something close by, Wendi.
Or sleep in your clothes, baby, because when they come, they come.
They're going to come. And it ain't going to be good. Harvey, they're just going to give you to Jeff Dunham and say good luck. They're going to say, Jeff's going to put a hand up your ass. And you're going to be the new
live.
You're going to be the new puppet.
So, yeah. Like Walter can just sit this one out. We'll do the live version.
All right.
Like, you're not going to believe it. We're going to do a human colonoscopy with Harvey Adelson today.
Oh my God, you're so sick.
That's how it's going to go down. There you go. Donna Adelson is guilty on all charges, and she certainly can't handle it. Oh, shucks. Well, there you go. We've been covering this now for close to 12 hours today.
Feels like it.
Thank you guys for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Of course, we do greatly appreciate all of your subscriptions. Press subscribe wherever you're downloading podcasts. You don't miss any of our coverage. We're going to have some more insight on this tomorrow morning with defense attorney and former prosecutor Eric Faddis. He'll be talking with us as well. That'll be around 11 a.m. Central on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, on X, and on Facebook on our live stream. So there you go. Donna Adelson is guilty. Thanks for joining us for a live breaking coverage. For Todd and Stacey, I'm Tony Bruschi. We will talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast. This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
There you go. You had a chance to see how that all went down last night with the verdict in Donna Adelson, and what I had sweet dreams. I had sweet dreams last night knowing that Donna is behind bars for the rest of her life. How about you guys? Did you guys feel good?
I didn't sleep much.
Were you having nightmares that Donna was going to come and ruin your life? Or
She reminds me of my grandmother, Bertha was her name. She's
Bertha?
Yes.
There's
And
a name.
I was supposed to be named after her. So thank God my mom came out of her stupor of all the drugs when she had me and said, no, I am not having a daughter named Bertha.
That would have been great.
Right?
Hitting
yeah.
killers.
Yeah. Donna
Tony,
reminds me a
Bertha,
lot
and
of
Todd.
Tony, Bertha, and Todd in the morning.
You have to change your name, I think. But
Oh God, yeah.
I think a lot of people have moments that she reminds people of.
Yeah.
Or people.
But I feel bad. At least it's not her first day in prison.
Yeah.
I always picture that when somebody is convicted of something, they've been out this entire time, and then that night is the first night in the.
Well, there is a difference here. She's going from jail to prison, so it is kind of her first day in prison. Do they
do cavity searches?
I'm sure they do all sorts of searches, and they're not going to find any banana bread up anybody's ass. I'll tell you that much. So maybe a little paella, but that's only if Harvey's been visiting, because he's going to hire there, or Charlie's been visiting with the paella chef as your birthday present. Well, there's a lot now to try and unravel here. Now that Donna Adelson is gone. Eric Faddis, defense attorney, former prosecutor, joining us. Eric, you have prosecuted 55 jury trials, including murder cases. This took just 3 hours to convict Donna on just last night. Donna on all counts. Let's start bisecting what made this case so compelling. That jailhouse informant. Prosecutors relied heavily on Patricia Bird and Drina Bernhardt, inmates who testified Donna confessed and then tried to buy false testimony, exchanges for a grand piano, cash, all sorts of, conjugal visits with Harvey, things like that. I'm kidding. I made that part up.
No. Wait.
People are lining up for that shit. As a former prosecutor, how risky is building a case around a jailhouse witness like this?
There is always exposure on the prosecution side when you have witnesses who are behind bars, who have an incentive to improve their legal position, and whose credibility can be attacked because the other side's going to say, hey, they're just making up and saying whatever the government wants them to say because they think they're going to get a benefit. That's always a risk. Turns out was not an unreasonable risk here because the jury ultimately, it seems, accepted the inmate's testimony about Donna Adelson's orchestration of all of this and her attempts to kind of cover it up.
They certainly accepted it in this case, which is interesting because sometimes that testimony is taken different ways, but I guess they came across to that jury as very authentic. And I want to let everybody know who's watching us live right now on YouTube. Please, in the comment section, if you have a question for Eric about this case, throw it out there and we'll try and get to it in our conversation here. Certainly, they got to believing these two inmates talking about the $10,000 grand piano, drugs for false testimony. It almost made the insane offers made it more believable because it totally plays into how Donna Adelson acts. But what sort of does this open up grounds for appeal or anything like this with testimony from jailhouse snitches?
I don't see any colorable grounds for appeal arising out of their testimony. Of course, defense can lodge what's called a sufficiency of evidence appeal, just saying, hey, there actually wasn't enough evidence for a reasonable juror to convict me based in part on testimony from jailhouse snitches that the jury should have deemed unreliable. But those arguments on appeal rarely are ever granted. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of traction here, in part because the testimony from inmates sort of was woven into some of the other evidence and preempted a defense that Donna tried to kind of raise with respect to payments at a later time.
Let's talk more about that. Why was the testimony of the inmates so powerful in this case versus some others where you have inmates testifying and it's pretty easy to see, they want a little tit for tat, something going on here. But what made this stand out stronger than other ones?
I think a few things, Tony. One was the inmate's proximity to Donna Adelson. One was her cellmate. The other described Donna Adelson as the inmate's jailhouse mom. And so, what that established was that these folks had a rapport. They were close. And jurors can use their common sense. Hey, when we're talking with someone who's close to the defendant on the inside, they're all desperate. They're all going through this horribly distressing situation. Oftentimes individuals confide in one another. That's just something that happens. That's human nature. And so I think that played a role. And then also when the jury heard from the inmate that Donna Adelson wanted to make this out as something like her being extorted and Charlie being extorted. And the inmate said, hey, that was all a ruse. There was a script and everything that I was supposed to go by to create this falsehood that she was being extorted. And then in the defense's case, where Donna puts up a witness who says, oh, yeah, it was her position she was being extorted. I think the jury kind of looked at those things in their entirety and said, wait a sec, this seems much more like a ruse than some sort of sincere extortion.
How early on do you think those inmates saw Donna for what she was? and jailhouse mom and all the, cuddly, lovey, things that are going on. But more so, oh, this woman is insane. This woman is trying to is asking us to testify positively for her. She's offering this, she's offering that. Do you think they saw her coming and said, okay, let's play along because this insanity is going to get us some traction here with our own cases and maybe some sort of leniency. So let's lean into Donna and make her think we're all buddy-buddy.
Oh, that very well could be how it played out behind those jail walls. Look, jail people who are incarcerated, some are book smart, some are not, but many are street smart. They're good at reading people. They're savvy. They're good at identifying avenues that they can explore to improve their situation. And so I think they saw Donna Adelson, this wealthy, older person who's sort of way out of her depth, in above her head. She's offering a grand piano, among other things, in order to, in exchange for falsified testimony. I think the witnesses said, hey, this is a pretty easy mark. And I might feign as if we're super buddy in here, but that's not how it played out in court. And I imagine they recognized Donna's vulnerability and a way that they could improve their situation pretty early on.
Go ahead, Stacey.
I'd like to think that she got her grand piano. I mean, I'm an optimist here. I don't know what she would have done with it. I mean, she was going to be in there for a while. I don't know what her sentence was, but I'd like to think that Donna would follow through a little bit.
I would think the grand piano, the dimensions of it are probably twice as large as some of the dimensions within a jail cell. Probably not going to be doing any concertos inside those jail walls at anytime soon.
What an odd thing, right?
You put it in the cell, and then you have levels. Then you can go on top of it. Levels, Jerry. Levels. You're building the apartment in levels. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to think of Donna. What are the logistics? How are you going to get? Number one, moving a grand piano is hell. It's like a pool table. You just kind of leave it where you're at half the time. Enjoy the piano.
Was this for when she got out of prison? I mean, I'd love to know the details of this. How does this go down? I mean,
yeah, I'm not sure Donna had thought out all of these details. What it strikes me as, like I said, is someone who is kind of a fish out of water, doesn't know what to do. I have this money and stuff. Let me make some desperate offer to these people to kind of save my behind. And I think the people are saying, hey, this lady is detached from reality. I'm going to exploit that for my own gain.
I wonder if Donna ever had any intent of setting the grand piano, or if this was a situation where they were both playing each other And they both knew, like Donna knew she was playing these people. I'm going to say whatever I need to say. Oh, Harvey will help get you the drugs. This will happen over here. You're going to get money. Everything's going to be lovely. And she's just saying whatever she needs to say to survive and think that she's going to convince these people to testify for her. And then, you know, after that, screw you. I'm free. I don't need to do anything for you. You're a convict behind bars. And at the same time, they were planning to play her simultaneously. That kind of feels like how this went. And they both, the only one that like really, I think, thought that maybe she was going to get away with it was Donna.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I agree that I think Donna, really strikes me as, and in fact, much of the Adelson families kind of strikes me as people who think they're untouchable. They have this wealth. They've developed some influence and power in their community, and they think they can kind of just do whatever. They can orchestrate this murder for hire plot. They're not going to get caught. They sort of have these delusions. And then when you look at the real world of criminal justice, to which they have not probably been exposed in any great depth, that's a harsh realization, and the harshest realization came down with the jury verdict of guilty.
This was certainly a case, as Georgia put it. I mean, it's death by 1,000 cuts, and one of those cuts was Dan Markel's license plate number being scribbled down on Donna's 2014 planner. How do seemingly small details like that help to eliminate reasonable doubt in a case like this for a jury?
I think there are a number of ways. One is that it's corroborative of the prosecution's theme that Donna was overly controlling. She was overly involved, personally enmeshed in this child custody dispute for her grandchildren, such that she would go to these great lengths. And when you look at her writing down the license plate, there was other testimony that she was sort of tracking Dan Markel's whereabouts. Who in the world does that for their son-in-law, even if you don't like him, without some nefarious purpose? And tracking those whereabouts, we sort of learned through other testimony, could have been some measure taken to try to blame this on Wendi's boyfriend, who also testified. They're trying to align where someone is going to be, what the vehicles involved are, and that's a good way to sort of build a fabrication that someone else did this.
It feels like they were building their fabrication by playing Mad Libs, though. I mean, this does not feel like it was very well thought out. It feels like, as we go along here, Wendi, you're dating somebody? Break up with them and then act like you're going to get back together and ask where he was this day. And then that's our narrative. That it was him. He must have driven by, decided to stop off and murder your ex-husband. I mean, the planning here is horrendous in terms of
planning.
I mean, it doesn't even feel like planning. It's more like what's going on today and how can we kind of make these puzzle pieces fit together. There didn't seem to be any sort of afterthought of, okay, Dan Markel is murdered. Now what? Do you think there was anything here that was just completely overlooked or that they completely overlooked and really poorly brought to the table in terms of their story?
I think sophisticated criminals, the Adelsons, are not. They didn't plan this out the way that I've seen other cases be planned out by the defense. One thing I'm wondering is if they thought that they were insulated by the barrier they tried to impose between the Adelsons and then Magdemois and the killers on the other side. I think they tried to kind of erect a wall. There wasn't a ton of communication, if any, between Donna Adelson and the killers. And so I thought, maybe they thought, hey, we've got this on lock. We're good. But criminal investigation and digital forensics and people, wanting to better themselves while in prison have proven that plan was not foolproof and was really problematic.
Eric, can I throw something in here? I'm curious, have you, as a defense attorney, been presented with a family as messed up as this or anything close where you're just like, oh my God, I'm questioning my life choices here?
Gosh, Stacey, good question. As a former prosecutor and defense attorney, I've come across a number of family affairs in the criminal justice system. That's not terribly uncommon. Oftentimes family wants to come to the aid of one another. Somebody gets in a tight spot. They start engaging in desperate measures to protect that person. I'm not sure I've seen something involving multiple members of the family, and then also this murder for hire plot, and the manipulation and control that was evident during the trial on behalf of the Adelsons. And then also you put another level of kind of their arrogance, their thought that they're untouchable, they're not going to get caught for this. I've certainly seen similar cases, but this one's right up there with a conspiring family who got caught.
Let me ask you
Or
this.
at least multiple members have been caught. We'll see how the rest goes.
Exactly. Well, and we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How important is image in court? Obviously, you can't necessarily completely control the image that the prosecution is going to bring at you. All you can do is control what you have. One of those things being yourself, like literal your physical self in that courtroom. We've seen all different variations of this over the years with different defendants looking this way, looking that way, sometimes looking dramatically different than they did even the day before. Let's just start there before we start analyzing Donna's appearance in court and how she played to that jury. Just how important is that in your own experience, Eric?
I think it's critically important, Tony. In every trial I've had, the jury is focused on a lot. They're focused on the prosecutor, they're focused on the lawyers, they're focused on the judge, but you better believe they are laser focused on that defendant. They are watching, they're seeing how that person presents themselves visually. They're looking over that person's demeanor. They're looking at their facial expressions in response to certain evidence that comes up. And they are gauging that as humans will, because, they have to ultimately decide the legal fate of this person. So all eyes are on that defendant. And it's so important for that defendant to be prepared and to have kind of a cohesive and reasonable and acceptable presentation that's not going to cause jurors to raise a bunch of eyebrows.
What do you think the plan was going into this behind closed doors when Donna was sitting there having conversations with Tom Petty and trying to figure out, how are we going to play this? How do you think that went?
Yeah, so those conversations go different ways with different defendants. In this case, I think that they really wanted to try to play upon sympathetic grandma. She's a sympathetic grandma, and she's invested, and she cares about her family, and she cares about these children, and was meddling of sorts, and sometimes grandmothers do that. That's something we can all relate to, and so I think sort of making that presentation of Donna Adelson in terms of who she is was important. But then you have kind of these more nefarious pieces of evidence that cut against that, and I think the jury heard some of those things in the phone taps and evidence from witnesses and said, wait a sec, this isn't really the sweet old lady that they're presenting her to be.
They basically just put a cardigan on her and called it good. I mean, it was not very impressive. I was thinking maybe there might be some grandma sweaters. Maybe she'd show up one day with the banana bread, and offer loaves to people or something laced with cyanide. You never know what she might do. But it really, I didn't think her look made that much of an impact. In this case, I think she could have probably done a lot better, quite honestly, in terms of looking like the matronly grandmother. But her reactions, that was a big issue in this trial. The judge scolding her, of course, at the very end, but that wasn't the first time he scolded her. He scolded her throughout the trial several times for her very verbose reactions to testimony. How do you think that was helping Donna in any way, shape, or form in those moments in time, or did Donna just keep taking a shovel to that grave?
I think a better presentation for Donna could have been just really this meek little mouse, this scared grandma who's being railroaded by her government. Something tragic happened in her family, and now they're trying to place the blame on her, and she's just sort of cowering and small and scared and that kind of thing. But however, like you said, there was behavior from Donald Adelson that didn't square with that. She's having these outbursts in court. She's she's visibly reacting to what the testimony is that's coming out in a way that seemed, not passive, certainly, in a way that seemed more like she was prone to significant overreactions, perhaps, but by things that are happening around her. And so it sort of seemed more aggressive, in my opinion, and controlling, perhaps. And that's the exact wrong image that they ought to have been portraying.
So, Eric, question for you, and I guess it's more of courtroom etiquette. So the verdict had been read. I hope I have the timing right on this. And then she had the outburst, and then the judge admonished her for it, saying, you're not going to act this way in front of the jury. Why does this matter at this point? The verdict is in, they've deliberated, they're about ready to hit the road. Why would that matter at this point?
With respect to the reaction post-verdict, the reason it matters for the judge is that judge has a duty to kind of maintain decorum, to maintain the integrity of the court. Okay. Look, if the judge allowed these kinds of outbursts during the reading of a verdict, it would happen in a bunch of cases. And in fact, sometimes what happens is there is kind of a dissension among the gallery in the jury. Sometimes there are fights that break out. The judge can't allow that. He has to make sure his courtroom is monitored and things proceed by the book. And so I think that was really the judge's motivation for coming down on that outburst.
So it wasn't to somehow protect the jury in any way from her. It was just, get your shit together, people.
I think that's a piece of it too, because, the jury has a very difficult decision in any case, certainly in a homicide case. And the judge wants to protect the jury from any kind of negative response and feedback with respect to their decision. They should feel comfortable as best they can in their decision. They shouldn't feel fear of retaliation or condemnation or something like that. So I think that's a good point, Stacey. I think that was a part of it too, was to protect the jury from any kind of negative backlash that could happen from one side as a result of their verdict.
The testimony, some of the biggest stuff that I think a lot of us watched, paid more attention to. Wendi Adelson testifying about her mother's controlling nature and all that she couldn't remember. And then Robert coming up and describing Donna's obsession with controlling her children's lives. I mean, what's the psychological impact when the family themselves, the kids of the matriarch, are testifying against their own mother?
There was certainly no testimony that Donna Adelson was like a hands-off, passive family member who just let people live and let live and whatever happens, happens. Really was the opposite of that. And when you're hearing it from the mouths of the children, these are the people who know Donna Adelson best. They've known her their whole lives. And so they've seen this play out over the course of years, and they really didn't have any significant motive to fabricate that fact to anybody. I think the jury just said, gosh, these kids are in here telling us what their mom is like, and I don't have any reason to disbelieve that.
There was a lot of testimony. There was a lot of throwing people under the bus in this trial. More than I was expecting from the enmeshed family, or the once enmeshed family of the Adelsons. Wendi being thrown under the bus several times. Harvey even a little bit. Let's start talking about these guys a little bit and what the future may hold for them. Wendi, obviously, she drove past Dan's house the day of the murder, right when it was, shortly after it went on. Police are there. Then she has that TV repair man coming. Prosecutor Georgia Kappelman even made some hints during the during the prosecution here, but staying tuned about Wendi. There was a lot, and there was a lot that seemed to show that Wendi had some sort of knowledge. Again, this is, kind of our take on it. She's innocent. She's never been charged with anything, at least as of this moment in time. What's preventing charges against Wendi at this point, if anything?
Yeah, a lot of people have seen the cards kind of fall one by one in this case. When you have the contract killers, you have the middle person, Catherine, you have Charlie Adelson, he's already down for the count. Now we have Donna. Who could be next? Wendy's boyfriend testified that Wendi told him she was aware that Charlie was exploring all options to take care of Dan Markel, including a hitman. So she knew that gosh, her brother might hire a hitman to kill her husband. That's incriminating. And then also the talks of sort of possibly trying to frame the boyfriend, asking him all these questions about where he was that day to try to get things to align in a way Wendi wanted, I think is of course problematic. Does it rise to the level of a charge? The charge of first-degree murder would have to mean that Wendi knew it was going to happen and provided some material aid to make sure that Dan Markel was dead and that she wanted him dead. That's a tall order. But there are also things like accessory after the fact. If you're trying to conceal a crime, that can be a crime in and of itself. And so I don't think Wendi is completely immune from any future criminal charges, and those could come down the pike based on her knowledge and the actions she took allegedly to perhaps try to cover this up or blame somebody else wrongfully.
Let's talk about that for a second, because she did have some level of immunity here. She testified under limited immunity at her mom's trial. And maybe you can help shed some light on exactly what that means. Can prosecutors still charge her with independent evidence outside of what she testified about, what others may have testified about, what her ex-boyfriend may have testified about? And does cooperation actually increase her legal exposure here?
Yeah, limited immunity is less of a protection than it might sound like, because what it means is that Wendi can't be prosecuted based on anything she said at the trial. That immunity bears no relation to what other witnesses may have said at the trial. And there were some juicy details that came out that could implicate Wendi. And so, even if Wendi might think that she's home scot-free, but I don't believe that's the case. I believe there is independent evidence that can be used to be the basis for a charge, should it be sufficient, and should the prosecutors choose to go down that road.
There's a lot of the ones that stand out to me, and obviously you are the defense attorney, you are the former prosecutor. The vacation issues, where she canceled the vacation with her ex and needed to be there to make sure she could pick up the kids the following day. Their flight was going to land the day prior in the morning. There was no issue with that, but that seemed to be her reasoning to him as to why she had to be back. That day happened to be the day that Dan Markel was murdered. You also have the swimming. Dan saying, I want to see if I can take the kids to go swimming. Wendi says, no, that's not going to work. She calls Charlie. Charlie goes, nah, that might work for you. Calls him back and says, you can take the kids to go swimming. I'm going to guess she had some knowledge that he might be dead by then, which is extremely creepy. After that call with Charlie to go and change your mind suddenly to say, oh yeah, go ahead, take the kids swimming. The driving by, going to the liquor store, your kids, you don't know where they're at. You don't seem to show much concern about that. And after the fact, there did seem to be a lot of information floating around that family that may have led her to think, maybe my family did do this, considering she was the first one to raise their names in police questioning. Those are the ones that stand out to me. What say you?
Yeah, I think what we have here is sort of a constellation of different, very suspicious circumstances. And if Wendi's boyfriend is to be believed, that Wendi had actual knowledge that Charlie was at least considering hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel. And so the question becomes, what did Wendi do to make that easier? Did she provide some kind of aid? Did she was she involved in the discussions? You know, there were some discussions about that TV, which I think the jury believed that was code word for information regarding this hit, and Wendy's discussing that. And so, you know, where is the line? How did she cross that line in trying to make this easier, and or trying to cover it up, and or trying to make it happen? That's kind of the missing link, at least in terms of publicly available information, that would need to be shored up before she could be charged.
Do you think we're getting close? Do you think that they're sitting there, that they're in waiting? Obviously, it took a little bit of time for Donna to be arrested after Charlie's. It took her going to the airport, trying to flee, and they said, well, we got to get her now. It's now or never. Think they're sitting there watching Wendi?
Oh, yeah, I think they've if they're doing their job, I think they've been surveilling Wendi since probably the very beginning, and continuously in an ongoing way. And so we're talking a long time, or more than a decade. And so yes, I think they're probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they have wiretaps on her phone or have had that in the past. And then additionally, if I was the prosecutor and I really wanted to get Wendi, what I would try to do would be to establish this alleged framing of the boyfriend and Wendy's intent to do that. If she had even if she didn't frame the boyfriend, if she had a intention to do so, and perhaps had a conspiracy and agreement with one of the other Adelsons to try to accomplish that, even if the framing didn't work, that itself could be conspiracy as an accessory after the fact. It could be conspiracy to obstruct a police investigation. There are a number of options the prosecutors still have in terms of possibly viable charges.
Yeah. Stacey?
I'm wondering, like, I'm trying to figure out Wendi in this whole thing. You know, we had some people who were thinking in our chat room that Wendi was the mastermind of this. Let's just say that was what really was going on here, which I don't think it is, but some people think it is. Did they save the best for last? Do you think that that's a possibility? Like, she is the mastermind here, and we're going to nail her last. We're going to get all the other pieces leading up to her. Is that a possible scenario?
It would not be unusual at all. In fact, it would be kind of consistent with how prosecutors often go about approaching a multi-defendant murder conspiracy. You try to get the predicate parts in place. You get all of your ducks in a row, and they've secured 5 convictions, or excuse me, they've convicted 5 people already. And so sometimes you secure all of those things, and then you maybe even go back to those folks and you say, hey, look, if Wendi was really behind this, and we're just talking hypothetically, I'm not claiming she is, but if she's really behind this, why don't, Donna, you tell us a little bit more. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison for your daughter if she was really at the helm of this? Same to you, Charlie. What do you think about that? And they sort of build up to this grand finale of going after the head honcho, and wouldn't be surprised if that's the approach that they're considering, if they have that evidence and if they believe that that's what happened.
We may have a series finale on our hands. This is just season 4. This is like Ted Lasso, man. The next season is coming.
It's coming. The teaser's already out on Netflix. The trailer's out. Donna did not testify in this, and I'm wondering if there's a reason for that. I'm wondering if her testimony, if her verbally throwing Wendi under the bus, if she were to do that, if her verbally throwing Harvey under the bus, the few that are left out here, if she is holding those cards and waiting for being behind bars in prison for a little bit, that she can raise her hand and go, oh, you want to get Wendi? I got some information for you. Kind of playing the cards that the jailhouse snitches did. Is there any room in this drama for that to happen, for Donna to try and come back with something that will give her some sort of cushion behind bars, lesser sense, something where she can play those cards at some point?
I think people who have watched the trial have fairly observed that Donna, it can be rather conniving. She has some, there's some machinations going on up there in terms of protecting herself and in terms of trying to get what she wants. So would it make sense for her to keep, one or two cards close to the vest in the event that something goes really horrible at trial, which it has for her? Yeah, that's not surprising. And she might have more information on the inside, and that could mitigate her sentence. You'd be surprised how motivated folks can be once you're in a box with a bunch of other scary people, and how badly they want to get out.
Do you think that's going to happen? I mean, are we thinking too much? Are we giving Donna too much credit? I mean, this is a woman who laundered money in a washing machine.
Literally.
So is she thinking that far ahead? Is she thinking that this is a great idea? Obviously, she's conniving. She's evil. She has no soul. She has no empathy for anybody other than herself. That's pretty much established. But is she wise enough to play that card down the road? Or do you think she chose not to testify for any other reasons?
There are certainly other plausible explanations as to why she didn't testify. We talk about the paper trail, the payments to Meg Banua, and from the Adelson Institute when Meg Banua wasn't working there. But lo and behold, she was the intermediary for a murder for hire plot involving the Adelson family. So, it'd be hard to be peppered with questions from a seasoned prosecutor about that. There are communications between Donna and Charlie that are problematic. There is sort of coded language that it would be hard to kind of explain on the bench, or excuse me, on the witness stand. So I think there are other plausible explanations, but also maybe she was keeping some information for herself and saying, hey, I don't want to implicate my family if I don't have to, but if I get convicted, I might have to.
Do you think they're all for themselves at this point? Is the bond broken? Are they, just judging by the amount of throwing under the bus that seemed to happen here? Obviously, Donna didn't testify, but the throwing of the bus, came in the form of, her attorney, Tom Petty, throwing everybody under the bus.
Yeah. Certainly this family has been shattered. There's, they may have been close knit and they certainly had some success as a family, monetarily and otherwise, but now it is just in shambles. And with two of the main Adelsons in prison and other Adelsons potentially in the crosshairs, going to depend on what evidence there is. I'm not sure they're out, looking out for one another, all for one and one for all. I think it's all for me, and that's how it's going to proceed as things get even more tumultuous with these prison terms.
Yeah. The other one that you're talking about that is behind bars, the other Adelson, Charlie, he is behind bars. We were thinking maybe he'll make a surprise cameo appearance in this season of the Adelsons on trial. He did not. He stayed behind bars, never showed up. Why do you think that is?
I would have to check on the exact status of his appeal. I don't remember exactly where it was at the time of the trial. If the appeal was still pending, or if he still had what's called a habeas corpus appellate attempt that can sometimes be brought after a direct appeal is denied. If he had any chance at all of a legal means of getting out of prison through the courts, then he would likely invoke his Fifth Amendment on the stand. He would likely say, hey, I can't talk about anything incriminating or that could be incriminating, or ask questions that could elicit incriminating response, because I have these appeals to worry about and I've got to cover my own behind. That could have been what's going on, but he did testify in his own trial. And so there is a transcript of, everything he said. So it's a little bit unclear as to why he didn't testify. It might be a Fifth Amendment thing.
Did the trial do anything to hurt or help his appeal chances?
Oh dear. Well, it kind of depends on the judge who would be hearing the appeal, because, one judge could look at it as, oh my God, you helped your sister's husband get killed. And then not only that, but you involved your whole family in it. And your mother, who's like this woman who's, elderly at this point, is going to have to spend the rest of her life in prison. You're a monster. On the other hand, a different judge could look at it and say, if we're talking about the total amount of responsibility in this case, we just added another person who was, arguably kind of orchestrating this and really wanted it to happen, does that diminish Charlie's responsibility? Can he argue that, hey, this was a really toxic family situation, but really my mom was more responsible than me. I'm less culpable. Can I get less time, please? I think either of those are possibilities, depending on how the appellate judge looks at it.
Yeah. Harvey obviously was touched on several times. I wouldn't say quite as much as Wendi in this trial, but we certainly saw him sitting there throughout the entire case, looking like the Jeff Dunham puppet character. But he was there. He also, from what we understand, and we didn't learn a ton about the context of the conversation, but he did communicate allegedly with Sigfrido Garcia, the killer, right around the time of the murder. That fact that exists, he was ready to get on the plane too and flee. Why is there nothing here on Harvey? Is he just going along as this spouse that's completely oblivious to what his wife was up to?
This trial really illustrates how additional evidence can come to light that may further implicate someone that the public was largely unaware of. Like you said, why in the world is Harvey in the digital forensics for one of the killer's phones? Why would they be talking? What would they have to talk about? What other connection does Harvey, this sort of older gentleman, have with the Latin Kings gang who pulled off this assassination of Dan Markel? That's a real serious question. The possible consciousness of guilt leaving with Donna on a one-way ticket to Vietnam, a non-extraditable country, is suspicious. I wouldn't be surprised if the prosecutor goes back to that Latin Kings member and says, hey, I got to know more about what you talked about with Harvey and what his role was, and you're going to have to expound on that information that came to light at trial.
How many cards do you think Charlie holds right now? Obviously he was the first Adelson to go down, but is he the one at the end of the day who's going to be holding the strongest card to say, hey, guess what? Y'all want information on Dad? You want some information on Mom? You want some stuff on Wendi? And anybody else that I can help you with? He seemed to be very much in the know on all of everything that was going on. He was a key player in the whole damn thing. Could that give him any sort of leverage in court? And if so, being involved with a murder is a pretty big deal. But what kind of bargaining chips, or what could the prize be for Charlie if he were to start flipping on everyone?
Yeah, like I said, there's sort of the Adelson camp on the one side, and then Magbanua and the Latin Kings killers on the other side. But the person who's close to both sides is Charlie. We didn't see that with Donna. Donna didn't have a ton of direct contact with the Latin Kings and Magbanua, except for the paper trail. But that being said, Charlie's in the middle of all this. He's meeting with Magbanua, and he appears to have the most knowledge of what's going on. And so could he have some sort of missing links that the prosecution might not be aware of yet? Could he use those missing links to try to improve his situation in prison? We saw Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein case be interviewed by the DOJ, and then she got sent to a cushy, white collar resort prison. And so there are moves that can be made behind those bars, depending on the information Charlie might have.
Go ahead, Tony.
No, go ahead, Stacey.
Well, if they were to offer some of those things to Charlie, do they follow through on that? Do they get their information then go, yeah, we're good, you can stay right where you are? I'm just wondering how that works.
How that works can be a very informal and uncertain process. At this point, the government holds all the cards, or most of the cards, in Charlie's case. And so, it would best practices would be for him to get an attorney to approach authorities and say he has this additional information, and you don't disclose all of it, you don't disclose the details, but you give a vague sense to what it is. And this is what Charlie wants. Is this something the government might be willing to agree upon? And you can even have what are called written proffer agreements that outline the obligations of both sides. Sometimes there's just an informal handshake agreement. And when that happens, there is a lot less certainty, a lot less way to legally compel the government to uphold their end, or even the inmate to uphold their end.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that.
It's like one of those things where you got nothing to lose. You might as well take the chance and hope that it does do something for you. But if not, well, you are putting your own safety on the line, I would think, at some extent, depending on who you're testifying against and what sort of information you're bringing to the table, though.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we're talking about the Latin Kings gang who was involved in this, they can be some scary mofos,
Yeah.
And they've got tentacles within prison communities. And so you got to think about that. And then you just got to think about the possible snitch jacket that he would have to wear if he did disclose more information, including against his own family. There are politics in prison. There's an ethical code in prison. And if you're tattling to the government on your own family, well, some gangs might not like that. They might see that as lacking integrity or however they style it. And so certainly some risk for Charlie if he were to go down that road.
I mean, risks inside the prison and risks outside the prison. Wendy's still alive. There's family members out there. And a lot of times in any sort of gang culture, sometimes you're not going to take out the person that's being the snitch. You're going to take out the family. You're going to take out people that mean something. So you have to live with the repercussions of what you did that was viewed as disrespectful, or however it would be. Criminal appeal success rates are not high, below 7%. Donna's, I feel like Donna's attorney just opens up the door for the possibilities of this to happen. When you look at this from that perspective, as an attorney, what sort of grounds might Donna Adelson have for an appeal here?
There are no glaring appellate issues that come to mind in my review of the trial. The defense did put on a defense that they called several witnesses, and I thought that at least the strategy behind that was smart. They were trying to explain the payments as extortion. They were trying to explain that this was going to be a long trip to Vietnam, and that's why there wasn't a return ticket. I think they did a good job there, or at least as good as they could. I don't see a strong ineffective assistance of counsel claim just because it's such a high bar. It's so difficult to get an appellate judge to say your trial attorney was objectively bad, and also due to their badness, that's why you were convicted, and not based on some independent reason. It's just such a high bar. So I think the walls are closing in on Donna here, and I'm not sure she has many outs, if any.
Does money play a factor? I mean, this is an extremely wealthy family. Does money play a role in this? Wink, wink, if you know what I mean.
Certainly resources come into play, not only at the trial level, but at the appellate level. You can hire the best appellate attorney in your state or in the country, and that's going to be thousands and thousands, if not, more than that, could even be seven figures, depending on the appeal. So she's going to be able, ostensibly, to arm herself with good legal counsel, but then, she didn't get like the foremost trial attorney in the nation, and I don't know what her reasoning was behind that. I'm not sure. Yeah. Either it's a judgment issue, or it's a resource issue, or it's no one wants to take the case, and so those could still be impediments at the appellate level.
I guess that was going to kind of be my question, and maybe we can expound upon it a little bit greater. What on earth do you think was going through their minds of the Adelsons to go, Jackie seems like she'll do a good job for us? I mean, she already has a history. She's got some baggage on her. I know she's a practicing attorney again, but there was some stuff that, it led me to feel like, wow, she really relates to Donna in a lot of ways. I felt like there was some leakage throughout the trial of Jackie even kind of spouting off some things about, kids, they don't even want to call their parents, and the parents do so much for them. It was kind of creepy. But I'm wondering who said this is who we want to represent us. Obviously, Donna made the final call. Do you think that was for her legal prowess, or because she reminded her of herself?
there are a lot of considerations that can go into whom a person retains as their counsel. Certainly legal prowess should be at the top of that list. And I thought Jackie did a fine job. These cases are hard and trials are hard. But one thing that comes up too is the relationship factor between the client and the attorney. Sometimes you relate with someone so well, you build this trust, you build this rapport. And perhaps you receive promises or representations that, hey, this is how I feel about the case. This is what we think is going to happen at trial. And that can be a really comfy feeling when you have a great relationship with your attorney, but that relationship piece should not outweigh other considerations like track record, like legal prowess, and courtroom ability.
Yeah, without a doubt. Donna obviously sending, or not, basically she's sending herself to prison after what she did. This is going to be a nightmare for her, I would assume. She's going to be serving time at Lowell Correctional, from what we understand. Federal investigators found severe and prevalent sexual abuse there recently. How do elderly, wealthy defendants fare in a facility like this? She's going out of jail. She's going to prison.
Yeah, it's going to be a harsh environment in there. And just because you're up in age, that doesn't insulate you from the horrors of incarceration. The prison officials are charged with trying to maintain the safety of the inmates, but there are staffing issues, there are resource issues, and those prison staff are just terribly outnumbered. And so things happen behind those bars, and I don't wish harm upon anyone in there. But the reality is that that's something that she's looking at, and the fact that she's playing herself as a sweet old grandmother is not going to prevent those kinds of risks.
Do you have any concept of how many elderly people are serving time?
Just anecdotal from being in the court system, the criminal court system for 13 years, visiting clients in jail, visiting jail facilities as a prosecutor, prison facilities as well. It's more than you'd think. That you go in there and there are some old heads just hanging out, and there's a good number of them, and they're in general population hanging out with a 24-year-old Latin Kings member who's a violent predator. And so, and no disrespect to Latin Kings specifically, I'm just using as an example, there are gangs in there that have dangerous people. Some of them are not, some of them are. And so, it's more than you'd think. And those folks have a tough time. Sometimes they have allegiances and they're looked after. Sometimes they become targets and they're taken advantage of.
For her having the money, I have no idea what their resources are anymore. Who knows? They could be completely broke by this point. But I think the thought process there through many people when she gets in there is they have money, whether that's true or not. I can't imagine that is necessarily a great thing to be known for while you're in prison. That seems to be something that you could be extorted for pretty quickly.
Oh, 100%. Like, it puts a target on your back. And unfortunately, Donna, just based on, biology and her age, is not in the best position to physically defend herself. What is she going to do? Align herself with the Aryan Nation in there? I'm not so sure that's how it's going to play out. She doesn't provide much benefit to them unless they're just taking all of her money. So she certainly becomes a target in that sense, but she also has at least a little leverage to try to make alliances and gain some protection as well.
How long do you
now
think?
The people from whom she gains protection might soon become her enemies as the years go on. Though you never know.
What kind of jailhouse tattoo do you think Donna's going to get?
Oh no.
Dear, maybe some kind of a loaf of banana bread on the thigh, or hard to say.
Banana bread on one thigh, paella on the other.
I want that damn recipe. Can we stop talking about the banana bread? What was so special about it?
I'm surprised she didn't lace something in the banana bread for Danny. If she's baking him this banana bread, I mean, that could have been the way that this all could have slowly happened and nobody would have been the wiser. Well, he had something. We don't know what. But the fact that she already was at hearing that we saw kind of the preview of what we would see if she were to take the stand before the trial. She had a lot of complaints. The mattress is just horrible. Can she get another one? And her earwax is building up and this and that. Is prison going to provide more amenities and please Donna better than the county jail was, or is it going to be worse?
It's probably going to be worse, in part because she's not going to have a judge to kind of complain about this stuff to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're going through a trial, your defense attorney can bring up these issues, and oftentimes the judges don't do anything, but sometimes they'll say, hey, you got to make sure a person's getting their medication. You got to make sure if they're sick, they're taken to the infirmary, that kind of thing. But there's not going to be a judge saying that. There's going to be Donna perhaps going to some prison official and saying, hey, this bed is really hard. And the prison official's going to say, well, you're convicted of killing your son-in-law and you're here forever. And I've got a million other things to attend to. So have a good night.
Oh, God.
And have a good night indeed, Donna. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Donna Adelson in prison. I would imagine, I mean, obviously sentencing has not taken place yet. Donna's 75. For all intents and purposes, she's there for the rest of her life. Is she not, Eric?
Oh, 100%. Unless there is some appeal that I'm not seeing that can be meritorious, or if she strikes some deal with authorities to provide information and get some kind of reduction, those things are within the realm of possibility. Otherwise, she's going to die in there.
I wonder if she's going to regret those tattoos if she gets out then. She's going to regret the paella.
We all do, Tony. We all do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure what gang that would be aligned with on the inside or outside, but yeah, so those visuals are something to consider. Not something I want to consider, but
No, especially on the thigh. We're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks for that visual, Eric. Appreciate that.
I'm just picturing the paella. Okay. There's a lot of horrible ways I could go.
Like, you want what?
Right.
You want some of Harvey's paella for dinner? God. All right. And on that note, Eric Faddis, defense attorney, former prosecutor, as always, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insight into this. Your thoughts, your comments, let us know on YouTube. If you're watching us, we appreciate all the ones that you're giving us on live, but please do keep throwing them out there. We'll check those and bring them up again as we continue our conversation on this and other segments. Until next time, for Todd, for Stacy, I'm Tony Bruschi.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.